Okay, so today we are going to talk about the Ottoman Empire. So the Ottoman Empire is a long-running empire, but it also is an overlapping empire. So when you look at the origin of it, really the Ottoman Empire can be traced back to the original Islamic Empire, which, if you remember from when we studied Islam, starts after the death of the Prophet Muhammad. And it will spread throughout the Middle East. It will go across northern Africa, all the way into Europe, Spain in particular, and will go right up towards Turkey. Okay, we know that empire will fall by 1215 to the invaded Mongolians. So you've already learned about the Mongolian Empire, and they'll take over most of the Muslim Empire. When you look at the map on the next slide, you see how expansive the Islamic Empire was, and the reality is the Ottoman Empire is going to build on top of that. Okay, and again, it goes all the way from Spain in the west to India in the east. So after the Mongolian Empire begins to fall in places and disappear in others, you'll see the old kingdoms start to rise up and become more organized. They call themselves sultanates, which is why you get the term in the Middle East area as rulers as being sultans, because they were the leaders of sultanates. The strongest one will be Anatolia, which is modern-day Turkey. So we call it Turkey today, but if you've heard of anything being Anatolian, they're referencing that area. I put a picture of one of my favorite types of dogs, the Anatolian Shepherd. He's got the cute little curly Q tail at the end, but still a very big dog. So Anatolia will start to rise into power, and in 1299 you'll see the Sultan Osman solidifying his kingdom enough that he's able to start expanding, and that's considered where the Ottoman Empire will officially begin. And it will be called the Ottoman Empire, named after Osman. Okay. What will make the Ottoman Empire special and able to spread so rapidly is it's going to build its empire based on religion. So rather than expanding because of military force or upholding public works and connections like roads, you will see it really using the Islamic religion as their foundation, which will make it easy to overlap the old vestiges of the Islamic Empire and fully enfold them into the Ottoman Empire. You'll see a lot of conversions happening. Areas that were churches will be converted into mosques. So the house of worship stays as the house of worship. It's just for a different religion. They're also very tolerant of other religions, especially Christianity and Judaism, because we know they are very closely related. And as far as the other faith groups, they're just encouraged to have loyalty. They can still practice, but they just need to support the empire. And we all know that using this religion as a basis, as a unifying basis for any empire, is a very big strength. You wind up everyone following a moral code that's taught to them at home. It doesn't have to be enforced through the government. And as the empire is successful because it's so directly connected with religion, it seems that God is actually supporting the empire, which also gives them strength. That's not to say that they didn't have a military strength. If you go to the next slide, you'll see they had a very well-founded military, which will include an elite group called the Janissaries. And these were the group of soldiers who were loyal to the Sultan and the Sultan only. So they didn't have any, there weren't any small groups in different areas of the Ottoman Empire. They were the ones who worked strictly for the Sultan. Think of them as almost like special forces. That was the level they were at. What's interesting is their army was basically built of slaves and Christian converts to Islam. So people who used to be Christian and now say that they are Islam. Can anyone take a guess as to why slaves and converts would be the choice for making up the Janissaries? Yes, good guess. It's because those two groups are the ones that have the most to prove. So they are always going to be pushing themselves to show that they are worthy of being members of the Ottoman Empire. And they will also know what it's like to be on the outside of it, so they will continue to fight. They're really going to help expand the empire, and eventually they'll grow into such power that it'll actually rival the sultans. Eventually, sultans wind up being afraid of them, because they were such a determined force. They also had really awesome hats. The Ottoman Empire seems to be a big place for hats, and their show off in that fashion, which you can see on our next slide with the magnificent hat of Suleiman the Magnificent. So before we get to him, just real quick, you'll see in 1352 sultans cross over into Europe. By 1453, remember that date from last class? Yeah. The Janissaries are going to come in and conquer Constantinople and be the official end of the Byzantine Empire, and that area becomes taken over by the Turks, the Ottoman Empire. By 1517, they control most of North Africa, including Egypt, and Egypt is always a great place to control because, yes, they have the good planting season. So remember, lots of food helps you build your empire. 1522 to 1566 is considered the peak of the Ottoman Empire, with Suleiman the Magnificent as a sultan. He, similar to Justinian in the Byzantine Empire, he'll develop a code of laws. And also you will see him focus on making Constantinople that real cultural center. So besides the trade, he will expand out to include arting, right, philosophy, music. If you want to study any of that, you went to Constantinople. He himself was a poet, so you can read some love poems if you want to look it up by Suleiman the Magnificent. All right, so like all empires, we studied every single one. They all rise and then they all fall. So what caused the decline of the Ottoman Empire? In 1571, you'll see a series of several military defeats, which is never good for an empire. As soon as you start losing, it just seems to keep losing. In 1683, you see a failed invasion of Vienna, Austria. So that was the furthest they had stretched, and it was an embarrassing defeat when it comes to the invasion of Vienna. They should have been able to take the city. They waited too long. People ran away. It was terrible. So you have that problem. In addition to military problems, you also have economic problems. So by this point, you have trade competition from the Americas. The Americas have been discovered. They have a lot of new things. There's a lot of people trying to buy and sell goods from there. You start getting a lot of cheap products from India and the Far East. So India and China have decided that their economic goal is to produce more goods faster, not necessarily bring in the new goods that the Americas has. So you have major economic competition on both sides. You also see the development of other trade routes, so people no longer have to pass through the Ottoman Empire. They can sail around Africa now, and they can ship things by railroad. And you'll see rising unemployment and near bankruptcy, and then World War I's going to happen. If you remember the end of World War I, there is some decolonization where people stop owning all their empires because they're trying to pay off their debts. And this will lead to the empire shrinking even more, to the point by the end it's really pretty much just Turkey and a little outlying areas. And then on November 1st, 1922, Turkey will declare independence, which is the official end of the empire. So 2 years from now will be the 100th anniversary of the end of the Ottoman Empire, which is interesting to think because I don't know if it would work for you guys. You probably might know someone who was alive during the Ottoman Empire. Like, I remember my great-grandmother who was born in 1910, so she was alive during the Ottoman Empire. So this is the first empire we've had that has gotten that close to a big memory and being connected to us. So with that in mind, your assignment today is just going to be an art one. I'm asking you to design basically a poster or an advertisement for a celebration. We're going to say that you're in charge of designing the advertisements for Turkey's independence celebration in 2 years. And you need to design a poster that shows the value of the history of the Turkish people, which should include not just who they are today in the past 100 years, but the fact that they were a major cultural point of the Ottoman Empire, the Byzantine Empire, and the Roman Empire. Whether it was Istanbul or Constantinople or Byzantium, they're all parts of it. You can do the design right on the document. This is all in the instructions. It's right on the document. Or if you want, you could just draw it on a piece of paper, take a picture, upload it to Classroom. You know how to do that. And if you have any questions, just email me. All right, I will see you next class when we get to learn about the Aztec Empire, one of my favorites. See you then.